Unlike birds and bats, the flight muscles of nearly all insects do not attach directly to the wings, but produce wing beats by distorting the thoracic cuticle. Using muscles to create wing beats indirectly is unique to insects, and allows some insect species to develop remarkable rates of wing beats that are 10 to 100 times faster than those of birds and bats. In this scene, we will explain how this is possible. Let us begin by examining the organization of the muscles in the thorax of insects. Only in the dragonflies, damselflies, and mayflies, the most primitive flying insects, do any of the muscles involved in the wing beat actually attach directly to the wing. Here is a cross-section for a thorax from a primitive insect such as a dragonfly, compared with that of a typical thorax from the more advanced flying insects. In both the primitive and advanced insects, indirect dorsoventral muscles produce the upstroke, but in the primitive orders, muscles attach directly to the base of the wing to produce the downstroke. However, in the advanced flying insects, both the upstroke and downstroke are produced by indirect muscles through distortion of the thoracic cuticle. Let us examine the structures and relationships of the insect flight muscles and thoracic cuticle to see how indirect flight muscles produce wing beats. As discussed earlier, the wings are extensions of the cuticle of the meso and metathoracic segments. The following is a composite generalized description of a typical wing-bearing thoracic segment and its functions. Specific adaptations of these structures and functions can be found among the various insect orders and species. The armored body characteristic of most species of adult insects is comprised of rigid cuticular plates called sclerites. Thoracic segments consist of 4 major sclerites, a dorsal notum, 2 lateral pleurons, and a ventral sternum. The thoracic sclerites are subdivided by sulci or furrows that form internal strengthening ridges for muscle attachment. The notum is divided into a scutum and a scutellum. The wings attach to the thorax in the membranous area between the notum and the pleuron. The wing dorsal and ventral cuticles are membranous and flexible at the points where they join the notum. Anterior and posterior nodal wing processes act as articulation points for the wing. Movements of the thorax for flight are transferred to the wing by 3 sclerites in the membranous area which form a hinge between the nodal wing processes and the wing base. A pleural wing process also acts as a fulcrum point during wing movement. There are 2 pairs of indirect muscles in each wing-bearing thoracic segment. Dorsal longitudinal indirect flight muscles attach to large flattened plates called phragma that are present internally at the front and back of each nodal sclerite in wing-bearing segments. A second pair of dorsoventral indirect muscles attach to the nodal and sternal sclerites. Thoracic cuticle is rigid and acts like an elastic box. Movements of the thorax and wings will be exaggerated to illustrate the actions that occur during a wing beat. When the dorsal longitudinal muscles contract, they shorten the thoracic segment, causing the notum to bulge upward. Shortening of the notum draws the scutellum forward and pushes up on the hinged sclerites and the scutum at the base of the wing, which lifts the wing base over the pleural wing process and flips the wing into the downstroke. Subsequently, the dorsoventral muscles contract and pull the notum back down over the thorax to expand lengthwise. This pulls the scutellum back and the scutum down so that the wing base is drawn back over the pleural wing process and the wing flips into the upstroke. Flipping of the wing up or down over the pleural wing process is called the click mechanism for insect flight. Once the wing surpasses its equilibrium point on the pleural wing process, it snaps into its final extended position without expending further muscular energy. Birds and bats require muscular energy expenditure throughout their entire wing beat, but insects drive the click mechanism by recovering elastic energy stored from deformation of the cuticle during the preceding wing beat. If the insect thorax were flexible laterally, the thorax would be similar to a soft rubber ball and bow in and out as the wings move smoothly through their wingbeat cycle without a click mechanism. This would mean that, like birds and bats, insect wing movements would require energy expenditure throughout the entire cycle. Instead, the insect thoracic cuticle has lateral stiffness that holds the pleurons rigid so that the wings pivot over the pleural wing processes and click into either a stable up or down position. To explain lateral stiffness of the pleurons, let us view a cross-section of the thorax at the level of the pleural sulci. Cuticular ridges called apodemes are formed on each side of the thorax by inward folds along the pleural and sternal sulci, and the two ridges are connected by a set of sternopleural muscles. The sternopleural muscles control the flexibility of the pleural sclerites and produce lateral stiffness to make the thoracic sides rigid. With lateral stiffness, once the flight muscles overcome the inertia of the wing and move the wing base past its equilibrium point on the pleural wing process, elastic properties of the thoracic cuticle click the wing into its new stable position with no further exertion by the muscles. The wing has two stable positions, fully extended up or down. Here is a magnification of the wing hinge to demonstrate the details of the movements of the wing and cuticle during the wing beat. Here we see the main sclerites involved with wing movements: the notum, the scutellar lever, the nodal hinge, the pleural wing process, and the first and second axillary sclerites. At the start of the downstroke, the longitudinal muscles cause the notum to shorten and move upward, which pulls the scutellar lever forward and upward to lift the nodal hinge. The nodal hinge pushes outward on the first axillary sclerite, pivots the wing over the pleural process on the second axillary sclerite, and flips the wing into the downstroke. The contracting longitudinal muscles release their tension as the wing clicks into its downstroke. Deformation of the cuticle during the downstroke stretches the antagonistic dorsoventral muscles to develop an immediate tension that starts the upstroke. Contraction of the dorsoventral muscles pulls down and lengthens the notum, which pulls back and down on the scutellar lever, drawing the nodal hinge back and down over the pleural process to click the wing back into the up position. The advantage of this is that once the wing has moved past its equilibrium point on the pleural wing process, the flight muscle no longer has to exert energy and tension for the wing to attain its full stroke. The wing clicks into its new full position based on energy that was stored in elastic elements of the cuticle and antagonistic muscle by their distortion during the previous stroke. 80% of that stored energy is recovered during the counterstroke. The energy is stored in a unique rubber-like protein called resolin. Resolin stores and releases energy with 97% efficiency and is found in the membranous regions of the wings and legs where it is stretched during movements. Next, we shall demonstrate how the indirect flight muscles can attain such rapid rates of wing beat.